Are all raw nuts okay to eat? Does the quantity matter? Should they be soaked? Should cashews and peanuts be avoided?
Well, you just answered the first part of that question. Cashews and peanuts should be avoided. Uh, Peanuts are not a nut, they're a legume. They have an aflatoxin on it that we've known for about 45 years are carcinogens, cause cancer. Number two, a cashew is not really a raw nut in almost any case, because to open up that very hard shell, it's like mahogany, it's so hard. They heat it up. Now, there's no laws on the book anywhere in the world, including here in the United States, that require you not to lie about raw. They can say raw and it's not raw. So because it's not post roasted or cooked after they open it up, they say it's raw, but it's not. Any heated oil, we've known this for 68 years, 69 years now, causes cancer. So you don't want heated oil. Now, all other nuts are terrific. As a matter of fact, I'm always reading new research. I just love to do it. And in the last 10 years, 15 years, there's more data on nuts and the benefit they have on health than I've ever seen before. It's just coming in by the boatload at this point. And so pecans, amazingly good for the ventricles, the circulatory system of the body. Walnuts, cardiovascular system. Almonds, amazingly good for magnesium, the muscular structure, including the heart. But watch out, in America, that by law, they cook the heck out of nuts and they'll lie to you. So you have to get underground raw nuts now on that. Most of the nuts that you're getting raw in America now come from Italy and other countries like that. Pistachios, raw pistachios, unlike the red ones I used to get red dye from as a kid at the circus in New York City. These are terrifically good for energy on you. Hazelnuts, amazingly good. One of the staples in Europe. What that does for muscle structure and bone structure, terrific. Teeth in the body. So I'm a major fan of nuts. And by the way, it's a great transition food for people who are abandoning, thank God, meat, including fish and turkey and chicken and pork and all of it. Because it gives you that filled feeling, that fatty feeling, and it's familiar enough to you. And how I had to break myself, because I wasn't one of those people who didn't like meat. I liked meat the day I gave it up. Basically, we made them in the shape of a burger. We made them in the shape of a loaf at Thanksgiving that looked like a turkey. And whatever it takes, you just can't be foul enough to kill an animal and eat it and think you're going to get away with that one. Dr. Wilcox out of Harvard University said it so well a few years ago. He said, we think we're getting away with murder when we murder to eat, and they murder us in the long run. Yes.
Are raw seeds, including pumpkin, sunflower, sesame, flax, chia, hemp, and poppy, ideal to include in our salads 7 days a week, 365 days a year for life? Do you need to?
It sounds exactly like the salads that I'm eating. I put 5 seeds in my salad. The only one you have to watch out for if you're going to get a job interview is poppy, because poppy have opiates in it, but incredibly good for you. My grandmother was Hungarian, and I ate a lot of poppy seed cake. That wasn't the way to eat it, but raw poppy seeds are terrific. And soaking nuts and seeds make it much, much easier for the body to digest. Letting them sit and germinate, get a little tail on it, can make it between 20 and 75 times more easy for your body to digest. Remember, even those of us with very good digestive tracts, if you look at your stool after you consume these, even if you chew like an animal, we should chew like an animal. We don't know how to chew. Basically, you're going to see them come out with whole pieces. Now, sprouting them make that whole thing go away and amplify the average nutrient by 8 times. What does Brian mean? He means 8 times more vitamin A, B, C, D, E, etc. Wouldn't you want 8 times more? Wouldn't you want it to digest in the body? Wouldn't you want to save more money? Because I take a seed and I put it in water, it's going to blow up 3, 4, 5, 6, 8 times its size. Isn't that interesting? So I'm getting more from my money in that one. And, sunflower, which is a very inexpensive one, is highly nutritious with a lot of vitamin E in it. Incredibly good. The first antioxidants they discovered was vitamin E way back in the 1950s. And vitamin E, by the way, protects your free radical damage, the ultimate biological cause of all aging and disease.
Do you recommend raw sprouted beans like chickpeas, lentils, lima beans as a part of an ideal raw food diet?
Absolutely, we do. And they're not so tasty, to be honest, like a nut and a seed. So many times people smush them up in a food processor or blender, and then they add garlic or onions or sauces or other flavors, or fill them full of vegetables, and they're incredibly good for you. I mean, to give an example, chickpeas 25% protein. You're worried about protein. Red meat's not that. And by the way, unless you slaughter the animal and drink its blood immediately, you're not getting a complete protein. If you cook it the way I used to when I made steak, that's not a complete protein. Chickpea that's sprouted and you eat it, 25% protein, not 19%. I mean, amazing stuff. People don't have any idea. And what we love about chickpeas, it reminds you that filling, meaty, or hamburgery feeling that you have. It's got fat in it. It's got substantial fat. It's got complete amino acid protein in it, and it fills you up. So all of these nuts and seeds and sprouted beans and mushing them up and making different preparation really give you an ability to maintain a raw food diet without feeling you're hungry all of the time. Remember, the hunger is almost always emotional. And I was mentioning this here on campus today, speaking to the guests that are here, that when I was a kid, I never heard anything other than, "Are you filled up?" Every meal, every time, several times, my mother and father would say the words, "Are you filled up?" Don't leave the table till you're filled up. So what did I learn? What did a lot of you learn out there? Filling up is what matters. Not being nourished, not being satiated, but filling up. So you have that in your head. So you want to be feeling that filled feeling. It took me decades to get over this, to be honest with you. And now I eat very little. My body's very strong. And the reality is, I don't feel hungry, but it really was an emotional switch rather than a biological change.
Do you recommend raw sprouted whole grains such as quinoa, millet, teff, amaranth, and buckwheat as part of an ideal raw food diet?
Absolutely. I mean, I think that the grains we focus in on is teff, an Ethiopian grain, quinoa, South Central American grain, millet, a European grain, buckwheat, a European grain, kasha, that's known as, amaranth, and they're the top grains because they're high protein, lower forms of carbohydrate, so they give a lot of building to the body, most nutrition. Locked into these grains are phenomenal nutrition. Now, nothing wrong with the other grains you mentioned. If you don't have an allergy to anything, basically every grain is good for you. And what people love is bread, especially Europeans. All of us, we brought up with bread. So you can make breads out of these without cooking it, killing it, and making it bad for you, and breaking down the sugar. Remember, one of the problems why you got chubby, why I got chubby, is because we were eating breads, we're eating pasta, which is just like bread and noodles, eating potatoes. And it's not directly eating sugar, it just takes 20, 30, 40 minutes later, and then it breaks down to sugar. So that's the problem people have. And if you sprout them and grind them up, make them into breads or tabbouleh salad or whatever you choose to do, it's a very familiar thing that's much sweeter, much tastier, and nutritious rather than lack of nutrition. And they don't break to sugar.
From a health standpoint, should we try to add oils such as flax, hemp, and walnut oil to our diets, or should we try to avoid them?
Now, the consensus out there with a lot of the cardiovascular focused doctors, some of my colleagues and friends, is no oil, oil's bad, God says no oil. I don't agree with that. There's a whole body of evidence, I hope they read someday, that show the incredible benefit that oil has for prolonging memory, mentality, energy. As a matter of fact, last night I spoke to two of my friends, one that who's been on The Real Truth About Health, Dr. Seifri, another good friend of mine, formerly a surgeon at NIH, Dr. Yu. They're smack in the middle of a study helping people reverse cancer, and they're taking away the glutamate as well as the sugars, but what they're doing is feeding the people essential fatty acids, showing that literally fuels the reversal of cancer. And so I think our group has to rethink it. And I know we become focused on heart disease. When people have a heart attack and stroke, I'm going to tell them right here at Hippocrates, our medical team, please Don't have any oils for a period of time. You don't have oils, you're going to become old quick, and your memory is going to go south even faster. Now, you don't have to eat a lot of oil. I'm not suggesting that, but the ones you mentioned, I'm a fan of. Walnut oil, raw organic walnut oil, macadamia oil, avocado oil. I like olive oil. I grew up around a lot of Italians. I happen to like the taste of good olive oil. And so just don't go crazy with this.
How do we make sure we get enough vitamins and minerals from our foods? How do we make sure we're not missing any key ones? And will a wide variety of sprouts give us all the vitamins and minerals we need?
This is the most nutritious diet in the world. It's very difficult not to get everything you need on the Hippocrates diet. It's very difficult to get anything you need on another diet. So if you took the exact foods that we eat here and we teach here and that I live on, basically, and cook them, guess what? You wouldn't get the nutrition. So let's start with that premise. Number two, start to think in a very practical way. Most people don't have the ability anymore to do it because you just listen to talking heads and believe what we say or don't say. So use your own thought pattern on this. Look at the strongest, most muscular, most active, and most vigorous creatures on the planet Earth. What are they eating? And you say, well, they're not us. Well, any of you that have religious dogma in your head that don't think that we're built genetically in the similar way as some of these creatures, you don't know what you're talking about. The fact of the matter is some of these are 98% genetically exactly like we are. And well, guess what? They flourish on eating these sprouts. They flourish on eating the greens. They flourish on eating nuts, seeds, grains, etc. And not because we think so, because we know so. And I and anyone who adapts this diet go through the initial detox and becomes committed to themselves and living at the highest level of integrity will now get everything you possibly need. Now, let me preface that by saying I'm a person who's so happy about being alive. I want to live another 100 years. I also take raw living supplements, plant-based supplements, many of which we make here because we wanted an A+ variety that we knew was organic. We knew the source of it, and they're targeted to certain health concerns and needs for people. I take a lot of these every day. I take algae biotin. I take pollens. I take liquid minerals, ionic minerals, not because I think I'm lacking something. I want extra. So when I'm at the gym for 3 hours, like I was this morning, lifting incredibly heavy weights, and today I'll end my night at 10 o'clock and I'll be up at 4 o'clock in the morning, driving 3 hours to do a whole day lecture series tomorrow. I want to be able to do that. And I want to be able to tomorrow night not feel exhausted, but feel energized. So the next day when I get up and I do consultations on 25 people, I'm all there. So, you don't have to wait till you're deficient to get that. So start with the best, add even more of the best. And by the way, you will never worry about that. Where you get deficiencies is cooking and processing foods, eating animal-based foods, and by the way, eating foods that are not organic, grown in good soil.